Cloud. Yasmin, can you confirm?
Yes, I can see your PowerPoint.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Once again, let's just welcome everybody. Welcome everyone to the first event out of 12 events here at Lives to Literacy, going over education as a human right. And our first event is going to be kicking off with the commemoration of the International Day of Education. Today is going to be a presentation and discussion between Yasmin, myself, and all of you present today. Once again, as we are being recorded, if you do not want your audio or video recorded, please feel free to leave off your camera and your mic and use the live chat in any of our conversations today. So thank you, and let's get started. But before I do get into the presentation, we do have a few more disclaimers to make. First of all, Lives to Literacy is not an affiliated organization of the United Nations. All of the information presented today is not in conjunction with any of their initiatives, but our own independent work. All of the information taken from the United Nations website or declarations or databanks has been researched and referenced accordingly for today's event. And we will be talking about COVID-19. Once again, COVID-19 impacts a lot of students, and we will be speaking on our personal preferences and our experiences. However, Lives to Literacy is not a primary source for the pandemic. In order to keep up to date with all of the coronavirus updates in your home nations, please use your best source of information, which is your government websites, healthcare professionals, and trusted health organizations. So once again, welcome everyone to another awesome event here at Lives to Literacy. Please feel free, before we get started, if you would like to, unmute yourselves quickly, introduce yourselves. We are here to get to know each other, talk to each other, and foster a sense of community. So we can take a few minutes to welcome one another if you'd like.
So can I come in? Should I raise my hand? Okay, I'm raising my hand.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you very much. And I am Bamba Yaba. I am from Ivory Coast, but I'm currently in New Delhi. I am the Vice President External and Co-Director of International Affairs of Lives for Literacy. And I'm very happy to be here right now here in India. It is what, 1 a.m.? Yeah. And it's a little bit cold also. So I'm happy to meet everyone here. Thank you very much.
Introduction.
Would anyone else like to introduce themselves before we get officially started?
I'll be
introducing we'll do that.
Hi, I'm Michaela Campelli. I wanted to say, first off, apologies for being a few minutes late. I was in the midst of finishing something for school and just, lost track of time. Anyways, I am going to be one of the breakout room leaders, so looking forward to sharing my insight and educational journey with you guys, and thank you for having me today.
I guess I'll introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Somaidip. I'm the new Director of Education, and I'm very, very excited to be working with you all.
And we are super excited to have you. Now, if anybody else wants to continue introducing yourselves, I will direct you to the live chat because, as we know, we are all in very different time zones, and some of us would like to get to sleep. So I do not want to keep you here for too long. So you must be asking yourselves, if you are joining a little late, that is A-okay. Why am I here? Why is this woman speaking at me? What am I here to do? Well, we have a quick agenda of events that we are going to outline with you really quickly. So, as with all events that Lives to Literacy hosts, we will be following a very strict agenda. We are going to go over our land acknowledgements, as we are a civil organization based in Canada. We're going to talk about Lives to Literacy. We're going to have a little welcome for our wonderful president and founder. And we're going to talk about this series. This series is my baby. It's something I've been thinking about for a really long time, and I'm really excited to share it with all of you. And and get all of you involved. We're going to talk about what it means to say education is a human right. And in your breakout room, like the lovely Michaela said, we are going to be hearing from our colleagues here, and you're going to share some stories, talk about some questions that I'm going to pose to you. And then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss it really quickly and wrap up our first event out of 12 events at Lives to Literacy for the year. So to begin, I would just like to quickly acknowledge the fact that we are based in Montreal, Quebec, which is the traditional lands in which the Mohawk operate. It is the unceded territory of the Mohawk, and it is a place that has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations. And because I am coming to you from Brampton, Ontario, Canada, it is my responsibility to acknowledge the land in which I operate. I would like to acknowledge the land in which I operate as the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, specifically the Iroquois, the Ojibwe, Chippewa peoples, and home to the Métis. The territory in which I live is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. If you are not from Canada, or you're from a region in Canada where land acknowledgements are not super duper common, you must be wondering why we actually do land acknowledgements. Well, we do it as a purposeful moment towards reconciliation in Canada. We do it as civil organizations to show respect for the land. And as a civil organization within Canada, it is our responsibility to do this to help move forward reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples in Canada. We need to acknowledge the land in which we operate has traditional and ancient roots and relationships that stem beyond our histories here on Turtle Island. And especially in regards to Lives to Literacy, where we operate on unceded territory, it helps us to hold accountable to the Indigenous communities and to acknowledge that we as uninvited settlers benefit from a lasting system of settler colonialism, and it helps us question how we can turn these acknowledgements into living statements and turn it into advocacy. If you have any more questions on land acknowledgements or why we do them, please feel free to message me, email us, and we can continue the conversation. But for now, we do have to keep moving forward. So to those of you who might not know us that well, hi. As you've heard, some of us, we are Lives for Literacy. We are a grassroots movement in Canada dedicated to eradicating illiteracy and raising awareness to the beauty of education. And we are based, as I mentioned, out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are working with all of you worldwide. And we are so excited to keep working with you and keep hearing your stories. And now I'm going to stop talking for a minute, and I'm going to throw it over to Yasmin, our wonderful founder and president.
Hi everyone. My name is Yasmin Farah-Peter, and I'm the founder and president of Lives for Literacy. A little about me. I'm a third year political science and human rights student at Concordia University, and I'm very grateful for you all coming today. Thank you.
And hi, I'm Cyan. I'm your VP of events, as I've mentioned before. It's my job to create awesome, fun, cool ideas and bring them to all of you worldwide. I am so excited to be bringing this to you. I am also a third year undergraduate student here in Canada. I'm a student at the University of Toronto, and I am also studying political science as well as health studies. So I am still learning as with all of you. So I'm excited to get started. So when I say education is a human right, I mean it's going to be a year-long series. From our mission statement, we talk about raising the awareness of the beauty of education. What does that mean? To me, it means promoting education as a fundamental human right. And in 12 months, throughout a series of 12 events, I want to answer the question, what does it mean to say education is a human right, and what does it mean to see it? I want, with all of us at Lives to Literacy, to look at the status of education worldwide. What are the barriers that people are commonly facing? How do people overcome these barriers? And what are the supports available for people to gain access to education? Do they exist? Where are they available? Looking at the world's foremost liberal democracies, is it still the same? Why do we judge people the way that we do? I want to know, and I want to share that information with all of you and bring you along in this investigative journey. It's a role for everyone to be involved with. Everyone here who is a member of Lives to Literacy, you will be seeing this soon. We are going to be pulling out roles for volunteers who want to be more involved in it. If you would like to be a part of research, want to be published at the final document that we will be publishing at the end of 2021, we would love to have you. And you can also join me in learning how to plan these kind of online events. But today, I want to start from the beginning. I want to lay a foundation, and I want everyone to get a basic understanding of what we're going to be talking about. So when we talk about education as a human right, people automatically think about the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. They think about those fundamental common standards that were laid out for everybody at the end of World War II. And they think about what it means to have that bar. We also think about the Sustainable Development Goals that were published in 2015. How does that impact the quality of education? How do we measure quality of education? I want to know the basic normative language. What does it mean to say when we talk about the status of education worldwide? What does it mean when we want to measure quality education worldwide? And I also want you to hear from one another. A big part of our Lives to Literacy programming is to empower students. We want students to know each other from around the world. We want you to create and foster community. We want your network to grow beyond your personal bubble. And in doing so, you need to hear from one another. You need to talk to each other. You need to learn from one another. So we're going to put you into a little small group breakout rooms of 2 to 3 people, and you're going to talk about some questions that we're going to lay out in front of you. And some of your colleagues have already volunteered to be one of your leaders and automatically talk about it for you. And then we're going to come back, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about where this series is going to take us. So using the live chat, I'm going to ask you, when I say the word education, what does it mean? Or you can come off mute.
It means the ability to grow your mind, your perspective, and your insight on the world, and expand that kind of perspective you have.
I like that.
Siren, can I interrupt?
Of course.
So, taking into consideration what Nelson Mandela once said, he said that education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. So for me personally, I feel like education is a form of empowerment. It's a door to opportunity, to freedom, and taking into consideration Lives to Literacy, being able to have an education means knowing how to read and write. So that's my take on it, but I'm interested to hear like what Yabaha has to say, or what does Yasmin have to say.
You guys calling people out.
Yaba, do you want to go first?
Come on, you are the president, and ladies first.
Okay. I'll go first. So for me, education is a ticket to freedom, empowerment, and it does provide you with a lot of opportunities, and you're able to see the world through different lenses. And yeah. Yeah, what are your turn?
Okay. For me, an education will be an acquisition of a skill, either a skill or a knowledge in a specific domain. So in school, mostly we talk about education system, but so we have different kind of skill we acquire. But in general life also, even if someone doesn't go to school, but he knows, for example, people go to study, for example, how to cook or how to do welding or to be a mechanic. So these are different kind of skill, and it's a kind of education for me, as long as it's a skill you get. Thank you.
Can I go?
Of course.
Okay, so I guess similar to others, I think that education would be mainly as a way for a person to grow. By what I mean by grow, if someone doesn't receive education, they're only restricted to a particular worldview or perspective. By having that education, they can actually expand and see in a broader light. And with that, it becomes much more easier for someone to find themselves even with all the knowledge.
And Cyan, I don't know if you remember, but a few days back we had asked the same question in the WhatsApp group of Lives for Literacy, where we asked them, when we say education, what are some words that come to you? And then participants started saying literacy, students, power, confidence, knowledge, freedom, discipline. Michaela had mentioned brilliance. Yasmin said it was a tool, it was nurture, it was cultivation, it was empowerment. Dismiss from I think Nigeria mentioned that it's important that we seek for excellence, work together, and never give up because education is key. Liliana mentioned that education was enlightenment, and Simbarashe Mahaka from Zimbabwe had mentioned education is growth. Priya Bretta from India had mentioned that it's illumination because when you educate yourself, you become enlightened and you see the world from a different perspective, as Sumedi mentioned and as Yasmin mentioned. And then Sadaf said that education teaches us to understand what is right and what is wrong. And Rabia from Bangladesh mentioned that education is about ethics, principles, morals, and ideology. Ikra from Pakistan mentioned that education is about knowledge, upliftment, having a passion to study what you want, growth, success, and reading. Someone even mentioned that education is a solution. And if there's no education, that means there's no empowerment of generations. And so to end this whole discussion about what education is, Sadaf had ended it off by saying that education is light in the dark.
I think all of these words, descriptions, and definitions that everyone have is very encapsulating, very powerful, and I want you all to keep that in your head when I show you a series of images when you Google the word education. So that comes to the topic of what does education look like to you? Now, I took the liberty of Googling this on my Canadian website, and a very interesting series of images showed up. So first of all, they showed me this university where I couldn't comprehend exactly. People automatically assume education means big buildings. It means Ivy League. It means this Western understanding and culmination. You see this image of school children coming together to learn their fundamental basics. Maybe they're learning the countries in the world because I see Brazil's flag. And then you see children in another school. What are they learning? What are they doing? I see most people are frustrated. To me, I think they're probably studying for their common entrance exams. That's what I see when I see these students here. But then I decided to narrow down my search. So I said education, COVID-19, and this gentleman showed up. I can say education is powerful. Education can be a weapon. Education can be so much to all of us. But right now, education is a pain. It's hard. It's traumatizing to some students who can't get the access to what they need. And we want to delve into all of that. Throughout this series, I want you to question this westernized definition of education and what it means to be schooled, what it means to be educated. You know, it's so easy to encapture yourselves into four walls in a classroom, but why? Why are we so fixated on these certain things? And in doing so, I want to look at the larger documents, the larger goals, the larger organizations that set these precedents. And it starts with the United Nations. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. I'm sure most of us here knows what the UNDHR is, right? So the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. What does it say? Well, this was post-World War II, proclaimed on December 10th. It was a common standard of achievements for all peoples and all nations. It was a large document that's set after the atrocities and the war crimes committed in World War II. For example, the Holocaust. Everyone knows those events. Everyone knows what happened. And it was one of the founding reasons to why the United Nations became the United Nations and promoted this document. It presented the idea of inherent inalienable rights for all, and it set a bar to where we want these rights for people to be. 192 countries signed on to the agreement, including, because we are in Canada, we have to talk about our NAFTA countries, Canada, United States, and Mexico. I want you to really focus on the United States for a minute, because I'm going to pose you a question that might be a little uncomfortable, but I want to know your opinion on it. So Articles 22 to 27, I believe, talk about the political, social, and cultural rights of people. This encaptures, education, it captures economic rights, private rights to property. However, Article 26 exactly is what discusses education. So just to read it out to you very quickly, everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. And lastly, parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Now, there are some things that I want to focus on. If it were me, I would have highlighted this entire thing because I would want to analyze everything they're saying here. But we do not have the time for that. So I want to point out some things to you. Education being compulsory, education being free, and especially this point here, it shall promote understanding of tolerance, friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. I want you all to keep that in your heads because I'm about to ask you a question and I want to know your opinion on something. This is a very westernized way of thinking. This is a very supranational way of thinking. In the highlighted sections, I want to talk about the contradictions that may lie within Article 26 for a minute. Where are you from? Has your country adopted this Declaration of Human Rights? What has Article 26 done for you? And I also want you to think about something. On January 6th, a bunch of insurrectionists attempted to stage a coup at the US State Capitol building. They invaded the Senate chamber in the attempt to stop the Electoral College votes from being confirmed. Is this a question of education? Is this the education that the United Nations wants to promote? Is America, being the world's foremost liberal democracy, does that mean they are inherently violating the UN Declaration on Human Rights? I want to know your opinion because it's very controversial, but it's something we need to talk about. So yeah, feel free, take a few minutes, answer my question in the live chat, or come off mute. I have my own opinion, but I'll keep it to myself for now.
Excuse me, the question is here about the event that happened at the Capitol, right?
Yeah, you can answer any of the questions I just put out. I just put out a lot to you.
Okay, the questions here. Okay. Contradictions. Okay, I will go for the first question about the contradictions within Article 26 that you presented. I think that there are a lot of contradictions in the application. Like when we talk about equality, I don't think that it has ever happened on this earth or since this article has been adopted. I don't think there is any equality in terms of education, and we can see it with different other in the sustainable development goals. We have the one about quality education, the SDG number 4, which is about quality education that we want to achieve worldwide, but still it has not happened. Right now we are heading toward 2030. We are already in 2021, and last year maybe we will accuse what's the COVID-19 to have hindered the goals for this new decade, because the pandemic is still here, and then they are saying that there is a mutation of the virus. So we don't know about the whole year 2021. We see with the news and different platform online that UK is going back to the lockdown. France also is going back. So we are not yet done with even the COVID-19, then we can see another mutation. So we don't know what the same leaders will say again about the achievement of these goals. And I think when you have questioned the education as Western point of view, I think mostly we say it has been put in place by those who will call the elites to keep some people under them, because when you see the way our education is structured, like mostly in, as you said, Canada and USA, you will see that education goes with a very high price. Like for people to go to the university, it's very expensive, and students have to take a lot of loans and all, unless those who have like a little bit of finance to go through this, but it's very costly. So mostly what we see in USA, students take loans, and after that they have to pay back, and their job doesn't allow them to pay until maybe they go to retire. So it's very difficult, this system. If someone has to follow the same path, it's very difficult. So another type of education that allow people to get out of this channel is through entrepreneurship. And I think that's how people try to go away from this Western system, because it keeps people, I think, in poverty. The way it's structured, I think it keeps people in poverty, because I was listening to something where they say that when you are in a undergraduate level, and if it's like 4 years, by the time you are in your second year, what you are studying is no longer on the market. So imagine that people like us who are studying like computer engineering, or maybe I don't know, you study something about biology or something, and at your second year, what you will have to do as work doesn't exist again on the market. So you come to struggle. You see, you come to struggle to find a job. And if you were someone who was under loan, you have to pay back this loan and keep on paying. Now maybe you have a family and you have to help some other people. And if you keep what they call the rat race, you can't go ahead in life with that. So we need to look forward for another type of education, or okay, not actually looking after that, but we already have them. It's about promoting them. It's about promoting them. Yeah, just like I said, different type of skills. Because when we even talk about, okay, I will finish now. So when we talk about people who are studying something like having a certain skill and they are not able to apply it, I think it can't give equal opportunity to everyone. And when we talk about equality, for example, on base of merit, it's like when they say someone goes to the university with a scholarship, that's the merit they talk about. But again, scholarships are with a certain aim. For example, you see that many countries offer scholarship with a understanding of geopolitical power, what they call soft power. They offer scholarship to very intelligent people in the country so that when they come, for example, okay, I will say the name, maybe they come to China, India or something, or USA. When they go there, they learn the culture, they learn the language, and also it's become part of them. And then when they go back, if they become also the elite of the country, they keep the ties between countries and all. And there is a kind of dependency. So this soft power thing is again behind this kind of scholarship. So I don't think it's equality. Thank you very much. I think Kamte wants to say something.
Gabaha, that was great. That was perfect. You know, we touched on the idea of accessibility, which is really important, and is a huge controversy within Article 26. So thank you. That was brilliant. I see Michaela has her hand up, so I'm gonna throw it over to Michaela really quickly.
Yes, okay, I'll make it quick. So I just wanted to discuss how Canada approaches, or how Canada kind of falls under Article 26 in my personal opinions on how we're maybe slacking in the field of Article 26 due to, particularly in Ontario, I'm not too sure about other provinces, but I know recently in 2019, Ford eliminated like the free tuition for low income students. So I know a lot of people who have suffered from this and who are now struggling to complete their degree and find ways to like maneuver and finance their degree. So in a sense, the secondary education is not equal to all Ontarians, at least. And therefore that kind of, it kind of creates this system where only those fortunate enough to afford the tuition costs are able to attend post-secondary, and not necessarily to say that Ontario doesn't help in any manner, but if you're gonna have to choose between, you know, feeding your family or attending post-secondary, like you're gonna go with, you know, life necessities versus like having to, you know, pay for an education to get a higher paying job. So people in that bracket will be stuck in that category, and they'll just constantly, as Yabaha said, be stuck in the rat race, you know, of struggling, feeding their family, struggling. That's what I have to say.
Also brilliant. I'm also from Ontario. I protested Doug Ford. Ford's decision to cut out that OSAP grant really impacted me, and it impacted so many people. And that is also another thing of accessibility that most people don't even think about. You know, that access to money to get to school. I also see we have more hands raised. Leah, your hand is raised. What do you want to say?
Yes, so going back to your question, Sign, about the events that happened at Capitol Hill in the United States of America, and that being like, you know, a violation to education, it comes back to the question of what does education mean to those people? And Article 26 clearly states that education shall promote understanding, tolerance, friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. And the activities and the events that happened at Capitol Hill, where they decided that they were going to go and, you know, create chaos and bomb the state there, that was clearly a violation of Article 26. That was not for the maintenance of peace. That was for the maintenance of chaos, for commotion, for the objectives and principles that go against Article 26. And so going into consideration of where in the world am I from, I'm from Canada. And I think in Canada, we're fortunate enough, at least in Quebec, that our tuition fees are not as priced as many other provinces across Canada. And I know Suleiman is from Afghanistan. And if you take into consideration the way that education has been shaped in that country, there's a huge conversation about gender-based kind of like education. Girls are not able to go to school in certain countries just because of, you know, their health needs, and just because they're a girl, they're denied the right to education. So these are some of the questions that we have to also think about and consider. But to answer your question about the coup that was really bothering me, I had to, say something about that.
I was hoping you would say something.
You're too cute, sorry.
All right. So we do have one more hand raised. I don't want to butcher your name, so feel free to just unmute and introduce yourselves.
Hey, hello everyone. This is Suleiman from Afghanistan. I'm the interim executive director for Transparency Afghanistan. We engage in different anti-corruption initiatives in country, and we also use some of our available resources and community-based monitoring of public services, including provision of educational services. Like we empower communities to oversee the activities of different schools and community-based schools, public schools, and see if they are really operating the way they should be. Well, I just gave you this background so that you know that how we are engaged in the education sector. First of all, I think I'll talk a little bit about how Afghanistan is doing in terms of Article 26 of UN, or what Afghanistan is exactly doing for education. Um, Afghanistan's education system, it's in our constitute that education is free for all. Schools from first to 12th grade, and then even universities, although merit-based, but are free, totally, completely free for up to bachelor's degree, 16 years of education. It's all free. Besides that, there's also the facility of dormitory, which is again free, but because of the limitation of seats, it's again merit-based, but still it's free for all those who are in public universities. In the recent years, because of the increasing number of young people coming like from high schools all over 34 provinces to the center and to those universities, public universities that provide educational services, especially higher education, the number of, the demand is higher than the supply. So it's a bit competitive, or I would say it's tough and really competitive, but still it's completely free. um, yeah, there are questions like how are we doing in terms of gender-based division of these services. Well, yeah, that's true that Afghanistan is not really doing great in women education. It's not because the opportunity is not provided, but the cultural aspect of it, the security, and the different aspects. Some people even misuse the religious aspect of it, and they don't allow women, which will I don't necessarily see it as a religious barrier, but people don't understand it, and that's how it is. And then there's the cultural barrier for women in education, especially people living in the rural, they follow their hundreds of years of old tradition. Women stay at home, and then that's men going out and doing a lot of work, and even if that's about education, traveling, and etc. So because of that, women's participation in education is lower than men, but still we have made significant progress in past 20 years. I think that would be it about how we are doing in terms of education or education services. Uh, just a little bit about what happened in the US. I think I would just say that um, it's good to have freedom of expression of your thoughts and your views, but I don't think that's the right way to do it, like to go against the system and against the majority of a decision. While when a decision is made in a democratic way, I don't think education and the right education tells you that go and stand against them, especially if a decision which is in favor of everyone, decided by everyone, is made, and then you go and stand against it just because you're not happy with it. So I think that shows that there's a problem somewhere, either in the system or in the education system, or whatever you call it, but there's an issue, and I think that needs to be addressed. We also experience the similar things. Our electoral results get controversial every time. We have other, like I can give you dozens of other examples that few people are not happy with the very vast majority of people deciding for something, and they stand against it in a bit violent way. So we are used to that situation, although not used to it, but familiar with it more than every other person here in this conversation. Yeah, I think won't take longer than this. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to hear from your perspectives and your countries. And I am completely and utterly jealous about the free university. That's a conversation for another day. I see Faith's hands up, so I'm going to throw it over to Faith really quickly, and then we got to keep going.
All right, thank you so much. Concerning the issue of the protest that happened, the extensive emphasis on democracy has crossed over, and there hasn't been a mitigation line on where it ends. Because in as much as democracy is good, there is supposed to be a fence. Should I say a fence, or maybe a line that it's not supposed to cross, which became really unfortunate. And this is also the case here in my country as well. We see that in as much, not a limit, but more like what word can I use? It is more like I will find the word and I'll type it in the chat box when I find the word. Thank you for that question. We find that the education and the capacitation of people concerning democracy, it tends to go overboard. So I'm not sure how best we are able to handle that, so that maybe there are no future mishaps like what happened. Then concerning the education system here in Zimbabwe, to my knowledge, I am not yet aware of the adoption of the Article 26. However, there has been the adoption of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Then in our constitution here in Zimbabwe, it does say that it is every child's right to be educated. However, we have seen an increase of school dropouts due to the economic war, the economic about religion as a culture that limits the girl child, and this has also been like that here in Zimbabwe. So we have a long way to go to capacitate everyone in terms of education. However, collective efforts, we will certainly get there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was really good to hear about Zimbabwe and, that issue, gender discrimination, and, a girl's access to education is something we will be talking about later today and in other parts of the series. So please keep those thoughts up, keep the interactions going. This is going so well. So we have talked about this inherent, inalienable point of view when it comes to rights as is laid out in the Declaration. However, there's also the movement towards sustainable development that the UN put out. So I'm going to throw it over to Yasmin really quickly, and she is going to kind of go over this set of information that we have here for you. Yasmin, whenever you want me to change a slide, just let me know. You're muted.
Okay, so my question to you all is, how many SDG goals are there? You can just say it out loud.
17.
Good job. And can you name some? Anyone?
Infrastructure and innovation.
Okay.
Quality education.
Zero hunger.
Right to health.
Right. Great.
Number 16 is peace, justice, and what? Peace, justice, and something.
Okay. And what is,
Then there's quality education.
and what number is that?
Quality education is number 4.
Good job. Okay. Sam, you can go to the next slide. Okay.
Zero hunger is mhm. SDG 4 quality education. Then zero hunger is SDG 1, SDG 2. Then building collaborations and peace institutions. I think that's SDG 17, I think.
The most important one for today's one. Yabha, do you know today's most
Oh,
important
yes.
one?
Yeah, I think it's the most important because money is everything.
Why is money everything? That's another topic.
Okay, not like it's everything, but I mean it can do everything.
Poverty as a barrier to education will also be a part of this series, so keep that in your head, Yabaha. We will come back to that.
Okay. You see, but money can give you education, you see, so yeah.
But money cannot buy happiness.
I was gonna say
God.
I was going to say the most important one for today's discussion was the right to education because we're commemorating International Education Day, Yabaha.
Exactly.
But without money, you can't even talk here. You will have to buy the connection for internet. You can't even talk about education.
Next slide, sign, please. Okay, so the SDG goals are part of the 2030 agenda, and they were adopted by the United Nations member states in 2015. So since the new year began now, 2021, that means we have 9 more years to achieve all 17 goals. So my question to you right now is, do you think that we will be able to achieve these goals by 2030?
I think I'm not pessimistic, but my answer can be here a little no.
I think that is being pessimistic, Yabaha, because in order for us to achieve, in order for us to, move forward, it's important we have an optimistic approach in life.
Exactly.
And of course, given the COVID-19 pandemic has undoubtedly made things a lot more worse, there's a lot more to take into consideration of how the COVID-19 has impacted education, how it's impacted global health, how it's impacted social justice, how during this pandemic, students such as ourselves have, driven by our spirit and our compassion and our activism, our advocacy, we have, united to have this conversation about education in this world. And if this is not something optimistic, if this is not something that in 9 years, who knows, maybe Yabaha will be the president of, Congo by then. 9 years is a long time.
President of Ivory Coast, not Congo, Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire. Sorry about that. But
okay, you never know. Maybe I can take 2 countries also.
Definitely. So what I'm saying is it's important for us to have this optimistic approach in life. And I think it is doable if we have, a few committed individuals that are passionate about this change.
Yeah,
so,
I'm very optimistic, but okay, at least for the SDG number 1, no poverty on Earth, I think it won't happen. It's not being pessimistic. I'm very optimistic. Like anytime you can find me to be very positive, but
so because
for
of
what
a
I
medical
see, you just even mentioned yourself, Leah. You just mentioned yourself the pandemic, and I think it will be another pretext for people again to say that's why we're not able to achieve it by 2030. That's what it is.
There's definitely a whole range of, circumstances and life and events that happen that kind of, just happen because it's a life. But I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
it's not
important for
like,
us to have this vision. And when you have a vision and you know that this is something you're trying to achieve, having that vision is really important, because without a vision, without a dream, you do not know, like, I don't even know if I'm going to be living in the next 9 years, but we have to, aspire, we have to dream high, we have to soar and try to reach the sky. And we are doing that one step at a time. And even though we may not reach the goals 100%, maybe we'll reach the goals by 50%. And
oh,
so,
come on.
I
Reaching the
love
goal by 50% is not reaching the goal. Come on. Like, it's not because I'm not optimistic. The people even who
you're
set this
being
goal,
pessimistic.
they are
You're
like,
being pessimistic.
no, see, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this world, and they are the one talking about dreaming big and all to achieve this. It's not because we don't have the resources; we have the resources, but it's all about like everyone's. Again, we say everyone education. Like, what do you want to do with these resources? Because if you just try to analyze the precious stones and like anything we have as resources on this earth, it can sustain any country. Because
So then it becomes,
just a simple view is you will see that in any country, even when they say it's a poor country, you will find billionaires there, right? In any country where they say it's poor country, there is a billionaire. If there is a billionaire, that means there is opportunity for everyone to have something at least, not say they're in poverty. So yeah,
so
it's
then
about
you're about,
willingness from
so then
decision
you're
makers.
saying it's a question about prioritization. Like, what do we consider our priorities?
Yeah.
And so, if we say that education is a top priority, say for lives for literacy, then we will be putting our entire energy into that particular SDG goal.
Yeah,
But
ours is the number 4. Yeah. So before us, there is one.
I love where this is
Yeah.
going.
We
Unfortunately,
give our best.
I am
Right?
also with Yabaha. I am more
Thank you.
realistic and optimistic. Do I think we're going to
Thank
be
you.
able to achieve all 17 in 9 years? We've been trying to achieve climate change since like 1985. So we're going to see where it goes. But in
Thank you.
continuation with the conversation, Michaela does have her hand raised. So I'm going to throw it over to her really quickly.
I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry, Leah, for the pessimism that you're feeling. But yeah, I also have to agree with Yabaha and just say these 17 goals, as Cian also said, is a little bit unrealistic. To have no hunger, no poverty, and like climate change, a big one, all achieved and accomplished by 2030 is not in our capacity to achieve due to the leaders, the world leaders, and the people in charge of, making this change happen due to their priorities and their prioritization of money and making money and the cheapest way to do things over a world of like no hunger, no poverty, and like an earth filled with like green and sustainable energy. So I don't think that those people in charge, especially with the multinational corporations who pretty much practically run the United States of America and Canada, and I honestly want to say the world, but I don't have facts to like support that. They will they basically run the world. So I don't think they have these goals, and I don't think they're going to prioritize these things. So on that note, that is my opinion, and thank you for that.
Still, Michaela and
Wait,
Yabaha.
wait. That brings me to my next question. Like,
Wait, I have to go. Okay, so I just wanted to say, Michaela, thank you so much for, giving me a warm hug for the pessimism that we're experiencing in this conversation. But saying this is a more realistic approach, given, Yabaha, you're laughing and it's killing me. But given that, like, this is a realistic approach, does that mean that because we know we're not going to achieve those goals, should we stop? Should we just, like, not do anything?
No. We don't stop. We strive for it. Like we just said that us as a member of Lives for Literacy and as a member of also other organizations, like we will do our best. We'll give our best. Yeah, of course. We don't stop. We are very optimistic about that. So we give our best on this part. But when we talk about no poverty on this earth, I don't think it's possible. Like people want to rule. Like, okay, let me take an example of what John McAfee said. You know John McAfee, the one who did the antivirus McAfee. He had an interview, and he was saying in this interview that power corrupts. So a lot of problem of corruption in people because of the power that they have when they have this amount of money and this position where they can rule, when where they can say the whole world should shut down and we are all at home. When they have this power, they don't want to share. So everyone at home, we are the one ruling. That's the point. So they won't share the money with you. They are ruling. It's about power. Money is power. So yeah, people want to rule.
I would
I'm just
I would disagree with money is power. I agree, like, okay, money is an
I
approach,
agree.
but I think change is power. Education is power, not money. So I don't agree with that statement. Money is not power. Yes,
Oh,
money helps you achieve things,
like
but education is power.
I agree also about what you're talking about education, but things change by mentality of people, and the mentality is already corrupt by the education system we have and by the people who set this education. Like it's all started that what we say in Greece with the academy by Aristotle, right? And when we go through again with the elite, so it's already corrupted unless we make some change. So I'm counting on you, Leah, since you are very optimistic about that. But yeah, we'll work with the quality education. About money things, no way. For me, it's a no-go area. They just put it to make people feel good, to feel like, yeah, they are thinking about them, or they will do something for them, but nothing will happen. They won't do anything. We just try to show people, yeah, philanthropy. But as I was reading a book, okay, I didn't take a picture of that. There is something where they say that philanthropy, it's about even promoting what you do. So philanthropy is different from charity in this, but they say when they leave an office or they step down from their position of CEO, they say they have become philanthropists. But philanthropy is again promoting their own work. So yeah, it's just promoting what he's doing. So what has changed? He's just raising his name again, raising his influence, raising his power. Simple. Thank you.
All right, Michaela, you have to keep going.
Okay, I have a feeling we have to move on soon, right? So I'll make it fast. So to address Leah's point about money not being power, or money not, or change being power opposed to money, I'd have to disagree, because although change is power, those who are able to make a mark or promote the change are those in high positions with lots of money. Like I was saying, multinational corporations, we could even look at the presidents of the United States, they have all been those who can actually promote change. Those who, again, I'm going back to multinational corporations, those who are in charge of those companies, they pretty much run the world. Like I said, like for example, the oil industry, it's a big industry, and because they make so much money and generate so much profit for the United States of America, I don't really know too much about like the other parts of the world. I'm just going based on what I know. They have the control, and people such as like you and I may be able to create a response from these leaders if enough of us band together. But it is very difficult when you have those shutting people such as you and I, or hundreds of us, of you and I, getting together and creating this protest. And my example for that is, I don't know if those of you in Toronto, if you see like the mask protest, for example, in my opinion, I don't know, like the pandemic is crazy, and there's so many different ways to look at the implementation of these measures from like Doug Ford, for example. But like personally, I have a small candle business, and I'm not able to like go to the markets and sell my candles. And I feel like that is a way for the government to control the markets. And for example, letting Walmart and like Costco stay open, and little independent business, independent businesses not have the opportunity to sell their products and make the profits, is a way for them to just have the government at the top controlling who makes the money, who has the power. Costco, Walmart, big multinational corporations, and they control everyone. They control everyone. That's just the bottom line. Thank you.
And okay, I'm just gonna go get Sai, don't mind me.
Sure, go for it.
But I was going to say,
Quickly.
so if we're saying that those in power have the ability to effect change in this world, what do we think about Malala Yousafzai? What do we think about Nelson Mandela, who imprisoned he was nobody, he didn't have money. Malala Yousafzai didn't have any money. She was, a victim of the Taliban, and she stands today as an example of a person now who has the power to effect change. So she did not have money. So I disagree with the statement that's saying that money is truly everything. Yes, to certain degrees, multinational corporations, those in power do make the decisions. But when you speak to individuals, when you are a change maker, when you are a student that is, passionate about activism, about advocacy, and you're motivated and you have this determination to do something, I really do believe that you have the ability to reach out to. In Canada, we have the ability to, email our MPs, to speak with the Prime Minister, to interact, and those are small attempts to effect change. So I can understand the point of view coming where Yabaha is saying money is everything, but I definitely disagree that not everybody or not those in power are what they are today because they had money. So those are just two examples of
Just to
individuals.
mediate the conversation. I see where we're going, what we're talking about, but in the same essence, when we're talking about the Sustainable Development Goals in perspective and how we're going to get there in terms of international collaboration, I think it's really important to look at the different countries we're talking about. Yes, in certain parts of the world, money dominates almost everything. If Coca-Cola can have enough money that they're dictating government to kick indigenous people off of their land so they can build a factory, that is a problem. That implements their access to any sort of economic growth personally, right? However, we also see the way civil society can make change in our activists from on the ground running. We see the way BLM kicked off in the United States. That made a statement, that made a change. It's going to make a change eventually with this new administration, I hope. The question of power is a very tumultuous question. Where does power stem from? Power is very, very broad in its essence. There's many ways that power is derived. When you have a following, you can have power from civil society. When someone hears a story, you hear the creation of small organizations like us. Meet-a-Wee, Craig Kielberger. He found a story in a newspaper and civil society got him. Exactly. We don't have money at Lives for Literacy. However, we are in 40 plus countries in the world. We are growing every day. So when it comes to the question of advocacy for the Sustainable Development Goals, will we get there by 2030? Maybe not. Will we get to where we want to be in 2030 across the world? Maybe not. International cooperation may dictate that as a no. But does it mean that we're not going to stop trying to get there? Of course not. Does that mean we're not going to keep on working and keep on advocating? Of course not. Does that mean we're not going to try to dismantle every semblance of the power structure that dictates inaccessible education? Of course we're going to keep going. But that's just my 2 cents in hoping to bridge our conversations. This was a really great debate, and you're giving me even more ideas for what we can do next at Lives to Literacy. So I'm going to throw it back to Yasmin to keep her presentation going.
Okay, so you can go into the next slide, Cyan.
Sure.
Okay, next one.
Oh, and the next one.
Okay. Yeah, so approximately half out of school children at primary school age living in conflict affected areas. So we have to also think about how the children in refugee camps, how are they getting their education? How much resources they are lacking compared to those that are in schools, actual schools. So I'd like to hear from you guys, like, what do you think about the education in camps or those that are, that don't have, or like the reserves? Go ahead, Michaela.
Well, education in camps is a very sensitive issue for me, due to having a lot of prior knowledge on like the camps that the indigenous people who were in our country were put in, like the residential schools. I consider that a camp anyways. To me, camps are very narrow focused, and it's a way of kind of radicalizing those who are attending, those who are in the camps getting educated. And I don't believe, and I think this is a good thought and opinion, I don't believe that people in camps getting educated are necessarily allowed to form their own opinions. In a way, they're being forced to think the way that the leaders or the teachers per se are the way their teachers want them to think. And like, there were the Nazi camps, those who were involved in them were radicalized. Indigenous camps, those who were in them were also radicalized. And I believe it's a way to like create a group of people that you want to back you up. You know what I mean? Like having, honestly, I'm not too like great with my history, but I think you guys got my point across, that I'm trying to make.
Thank you. Leah, do you have anything to say? You had your hand up?
No, I didn't have it up. It was because I just, I was on a roll with Yabaha and I forgot to put it down. So then I realized I had it on a roll. I'm waiting for Yabaha to make a statement so that I can reply in response.
Okay, so Yaba, what do you think about the question I had asked?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What about as it says on the slide, like the approximately half of all out of school children are primary school aged, lived in conflict affected areas. So that brings me to the refugees, the reserves, like the natives. So what is your opinion, or what do you have to say about that?
About this people in situation of emergencies, right? Oh, yeah, but pay attention. Yeah, I was typing, sorry. People in situation of emergencies, I think it's also a result of education, because it's the way people grew up and the way they think they need to rule that makes us having all this problem you have. Because like you see in terms of bilateral cooperation between countries, and in terms of geopolitics mostly, because this armed conflict between countries is out of who will be the superpower, who will be the dominant country. And behind this, behind a country which is a superpower, it's a man or it's some people who are leading. So again, it's about people, what they think that they should, how they think they should lead countries and the power again. And the type of poverty, yeah. So these are the problems we can in developing regions. Yeah, that's what I said. I think I was a little bit lost because I was typing.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay. So for how has COVID-19 quality education impacted worldwide? So over 200 million children will still be out of school by 2030. That's 13% of the world's student population, but it's a lot. Then inequalities in education are exacerbated by the pandemic. So what are some problems that you guys have faced that versus those still that are out of education? Say, for example, those that are in camps, or those are in reserves, or they far away from the city. Like, what challenges are we facing that is different?
Please, about the second point, can I come in?
Yes.
Okay, inequalities in education, I think it's not because of the pandemic. The pandemic just revealed what was not just being talked about openly or in the media. And now we see the statistics, and this is where we see the inequality, but it's not because it was not there or it's because of the pandemic. No, it was just, it has always been there. It has been revealed by the pandemic. I want to say about the education and remote learning. Yeah, people don't have, just as I was saying in the chat, people don't have access to internet. Like even here in India, there are a lot of poor people, and someone was saying like you can start helping people. Yes, you start helping people by what you know, or maybe by knowledge, or by the small thing you have as value or something. But you need money to help more people. You need power to help more people. You need to be in position of decision making. That's why some of us, we are going to lead our
Yeah, but
country.
even if you have power, you still have the right to abuse it. Those that have power still abuse it. So
Abusing in terms of what?
they take
It depends of.
advantage. They just do it for their own sake, not for the intention like behind it.
Yeah, that's the intention behind
Exactly.
like
Yes, it was
the
corrupt.
motivation for everyone, right? Like, why do you want to have this power? Why do you want to have this amount of money? Is it to help people or just for you to be the ruler of the world? That's
You tell me, what do you think?
about me or about the other people, the people who are
Both.
currently leading.
Both.
About me, I will try to not do such things. I will just do my best. Like, but I took the resolution to not do that. So it's already in my mind to not do these things. And
And what about
about the people
those
who are
that do?
leading, what about? What
What
about
about the other leaders?
the leaders, the current leaders?
Yeah.
There is a kind of problem again between them, between the elite and people who want some position to just have, they have the agenda, right? So just like you see, yeah, but I see the word right now. Yeah, it's okay because we want to be a leader, so you have to be ready for that. When you see the confrontation between countries about, for example, the vaccine, I was watching a post from the president, Vladimir Putin of Russia. I think maybe
Yes.
it's his team managing it, but he was essentially saying that let's not rush to release a vaccine to see who will be the one who will sell more. You see, when you take the vaccine, Canada released it. After that, quickly, UK also released it. And not Donald Trump, actually, the United States, they were saying they released it later, but as soon as UK and Canada released it, you saw Russia releasing the vaccine. You saw also United States releasing it. So was the vaccine really ready, or it was just because some people saw that if they buy for this country, they will get a lot of billions out of this vaccine, so we have to release ours fast? Or what was the problem? There was this country, Madagascar, yeah, they had a kind of relief for this COVID. No one accepted it. They said it was not according to the rules of the WHO. They didn't accept it. They didn't accept it. But when USA released it again, yeah, then it was good. But this company, like some people did some research about Moderna, and one of the guys behind them again is the same man, Bill Gates, and his people. You see, so the vaccine has been accepted, but before that, they didn't produce any vaccine according to some research. Uh, India is trying to release a vaccine. Who will accept it? So again, it's about power. It's about who will be the one who will sell more, who will be the one who will lead out of this. And you have seen that if you check, go on Forbes, you can check. I checked recently. If you check the statistic, the people again who were at the head, they got more billions out of this pandemic. So that means the pandemic didn't affect them. You see, they have become richer and the poor have become poorer. So yeah, that's the thing. That's how it's happened. That's how the world works.
Okay, Mikhail can go on.
So basically, I agree with Yabaha, and when he says that, you know, the superpowers, I would call them, of the world, like Britain and like United States and Canada, they hold a lot of power. And this is not just in regard to the vaccine, this is also in regard to like the Security Council making these decisions. Canada not necessarily having veto right. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but basically, yeah, it's when you have the ability to like block something from going forth in the Security Council. I would say though, on that note, countries with all this power, like we said, United States, Canada, the UK, hold a lot of control in the decisions that are being made, and also have the ability to prevent other countries, such as the less powerful ones, according to Sumia Deep. Sorry if I butchered your name. From them rising up. And when it comes to the people mentioned, Nelson Mandela, Greta Thunberg, although there are a couple of those people who have existed in this world, it's still not enough to have still not enough in every country and every less powerful nation to create the change from their perspectives, and more from the perspective of those who have all the power and the spotlight in the world environment.
Go ahead, Leah.
Thank you, Ms. President, Yabha and Sain. But I want to go on Michaela's point, where I would say that, you know, what about Malala? What about George Floyd? They, you know, as Ahmad had mentioned to everybody in the chat, they serve as a source of inspiration to me. I look up to them. And, you know, if they were able to mass mobilize a group of individuals to effect change and come together across the world, then why can't we? And in order for us to, you know, as students, to drive change, we have to have this vision. We cannot allow concepts of power, concepts of corruption to hinder us. And as soon as you let that hinder you or your thinking, or blur the thought process, I think that's where you make one of the biggest mistakes. And being able to understand and differentiate from those concepts is really important.
I think these conversations are really, you know, strong and powerful, and I like where we're going with, you know, that impact of power, how power can make change. You know, we're kind of circulating around this issue of, does money contribute to power, and what is the extent of that power? I think once again we need to kind of compartmentalize where we're going with that. I see we're talking about the influence of George Floyd. George Floyd has been turned into a martyr for the Black Lives Matter movement, which is very true. You know, his death sparked anger. And, you know, just like Philando Castile, just like Trayvon Martin, you know, these people sparked change in their death because of the outside corruption that affected them and the reason why they died. Police brutality, you know, that saying ACAB. So you gotta look at where we're going from in these conversations and exactly what we're trying to achieve with them. So like Black Lives Matter is a social movement in terms of, you know, achieving change in terms of civil rights. Malala was more, you know, on the international global stage, advocating for the rights of girls and the right to education and fighting injustice in that point of view. Same thing with Greta Thunberg when she was at large, you know, making grown men cry on the international stage because a 16-year-old girl was so passionate about, you know, climate change and the effect of, will I be able to even become an adult? So I think, you know, that issue of power in terms of money, very true on a government standpoint in terms of international cooperation, definitely, but don't discount civil society and the people on the ground, because when they are angry enough, when they have that motivation behind them, definitely all of these things we're talking about can be done by the people for the people.
And Sayan, I have a question that I want to pose particularly directed towards Yabaha, but it's going back to his statement where he said no big change happens without money. So if I'm a person of poverty, am I supposed to just succumb to this definition that no change, because I have no money, I cannot do anything to my community, the people around me, I cannot dream or aspire? Are we saying that people that are poor have no ability, they have no human rights? Is that what we're saying, Yabaha?
No. I never said that. Anyone can dream. That's why I also said in the same text that in the chat box, is it really maybe the question is, what do we understand by money? Money is not only like the paper, or just like I think we studied last semester. It's a means of exchange. So as long as you are able to exchange something for another thing that you want to achieve, it's a kind of money also. So like in the past, they were using stones or something, precious stones, gold and all. And after that, we started with convention now, we said it's this papers that we are using with some colors on it and drawings that we call money. But you see, as long as you have a lot of money, you can do more good. And even your dream, when you are talking about your dream, like maybe you dream to, I don't know, you want to become a doctor or something, like you need money to achieve this dream. You need a means of exchange, which should be very high as long as you want to achieve a big dream. No matter the dream you want to achieve, it has to be with a lot of money. Either people support you or you have your own. But I don't say that people should not dream. No, everyone can dream. It's just that some dreams stay dream and some dreams become reality. Is she saying something? What's the means of exchange done in the BLM movement? I think that's an issue.
Leah, do you have something to say?
Saying something?
So I'm just going to read what Mad said, which was, what is the means of exchange done in the Black Lives Matter movement? I think that's an issue more of policy and action driven by the voices of the people. And going back in terms of like my perspective, which is coming from a medical type of perspective in terms of like how this conversation is going. But for us as community health professionals, when we want to impact or go into these different communities, we have realized that if you reach out to the higher levels of power, you are making absolutely no impact. In order to touch and change lives, you have to go from a bottom up approach. And so that's like basically where I'm coming with this type of point of view, which is you have to go to the communities, you have to speak to the people in order to, you know, what their needs are, what is their most urgent necessities, and then take it up from there. So speaking about like going back to this conversation about education and how different communities have been impacted, you need to go like, you know, focus in small and then locally before globally. That's the way that I see it.
There we go. There we go. All right, these conversations are going incredibly well. I love where we're going with it and this debate that has formulated. However, it's almost 4 o'clock and we have to keep going. I'm so sorry to end it off, but we got to keep going. We got to keep pushing in order to get to our culminating discussion. So, you know, we're talking about all of these inequities. We're talking about the access to education, money as a form of inaccessible education, money as a form of power. Well, we're going to delve into these inequalities much further throughout the series. And we want to keep these conversations going. We want to know what it means to evaluate the status of education worldwide and what does it mean to have a quality education. And, you know, this aspect of how money and power and, you know, superpowers in the world, maybe that culminates into the question itself and to how quality education is going to be evaluated. So to bring us back on the topic of, why we're here in terms of education, we want to know, what does it mean to talk about the status of education? So the status of education, you hear it all the time. What is the status of education in the global South? What is the status of education in rural America? What is the status of education among Indigenous communities in Canada? You hear it all the time, but what does it mean? Well, I did not know what it meant. I just thought it meant who was getting school, who was going to school, who was graduating. What does it mean? Well, it culminates so many different aspects of it. It talks about what are the resources that schools are getting. That public school versus private school situation that is very much apparent in places like the US. What are the completion rates? What are exacerbating inequalities to access to education? What is the quality of education due to this access? So we want to go beyond just that understanding of the developing world. It's so apparent in, these universities out in our side of the world in Canada. They talk about the global South. They talk about the Philippines. They talk about Indonesia. They talk about all these places, but they don't also acknowledge the fact that the status of education, the quality of education, is affected in our side of the world as well. Canada will boast about their high literacy rate of over 90%, but literacy skills among adults is dismal in a lot of communities. So how do we talk about that? How do we evaluate that? That is a part of why we're here and what we're going to keep on doing. We're going to talk about what affects someone's education. Well, just like what we're talking about today, we're talking about marginalization and poverty, sex and gender, how girls make up 54% of the world's non-schooled population. 54% of girls, of the whole population, are girls. And as someone myself, as a woman of color especially, that hits me hard. To know that if I was in another part of the world, there's a good chance that I wouldn't be in university pursuing a degree that I'm very passionate about right now. There is the problem of cultural and religious identity. How does that affect someone's access and welcoming into their educational system? And then there's the issue of financial deficit. Again, coming back to this issue of money. Yabaha, I see you smiling. This idea that, back to that part in Article 26, talking about how education shall be free and it's compulsory, it's accessible. Well, we talk about the World Bank, we talk about the IMF, how these organizations put countries further into debt. We talk about Jamaica's experience with their debt banks and how they laid out all of these things for them to, grow their economies, which didn't help them at all. Universal primary education is not available for a lot of these developing nations because they cannot afford to. They are trapped in, these poverty traps, these resource traps where they cannot actually afford to fund education for every single person there. There is lack of resources, their education, so therefore there's lack of qualified teachers. So obviously, this financial deficit they experience will then trickle down into who gets educated, who gets the access, of course, which is another thing we will be talking about at a later date. So I would make this a breakout room discussion. However, because we are having such a good conversation here, I want to take a quick poll. Would you all rather go out into your breakout rooms and hear each other's stories and talk, or would you all rather stay here? You can, shoot me a reaction on Zoom, put it in the chat, come off mute. I want to know. Let's take a quick minute and tell me what you think. If you want to go in your breakout rooms or you want to stay here. You want to stay here? Okay. I think the resounding answer is to stay right here and have another conversation. So, we just talked about some of those barriers. And when we talk, I can put it back on the slide if you'd like. So we're talking about girls. We're talking about, that financial deficit. We're talking about access to education. Maybe there's some barriers that I didn't actually put on that slide. Maybe accessibility to education is different for you because no one knows your story better than yourself. So I want to know about, do these barriers, have they affected you? And then at the end of it, I want everyone to kind of brainstorm. talking about these things, where can we go from here? How do we advocate? And because Michaela was one of our first people to be a speaker, she registered to be a speaker in the original format of the event, I would like to give her the opportunity to take lead on the first set of conversations before we get into the rest of conversations. And we are going to stay here. We're not going to leave the chat. We're all going to stay here. So Michaela, I'm going to throw it over to you quickly, and then we'll get to everybody else.
I think she's mute.
Yeah,
Or
Michaela, we're having a little trouble hearing you. No. Okay. Okay, Michaela, while you're figuring out your tech stuff, I'm going to throw it over to Suleiman, who has his hand raised. So you can unmute and go for it.
Okay, all right. I think, Michaela, while you figure out what's happening, I'll talk a little bit about what has affected my education personally, and I think I would give you a little bit of background about how I got my education. So I lived in a refugee camp because of our internal conflicts in Afghanistan, and I got education. My father had to work really hard for me to go to school, and then looking at my passion about education and everything else, while also working, of course, with my father as a bread earner, I got admitted to a university, and eventually here I am with my university degree and then working in Afghanistan development sector. Luckily, we got these past 21 years of development, which really helped us a little bit in developing this country a little bit and getting out of war. Although we are still in a war zone, even as we speak, we had a few issues outside in the city. We got hit bad, really bad. Can you not hear me?
Your voice was breaking.
Is it good? Sorry about that. I'm using my 4G, so yeah, you can expect that. So, people started to realize that it's time to, get into education. Everybody should be educated, especially those who were in, as refugees living in neighbor countries. And I used to see a difference in the locals and the refugees. A refugee boy would come out of his home early in the morning, doing some work, and then going to school, and then coming back, and then again going to some work, and then going to, let's say, club for some exercise, and then painting or writing or drawing a class, and then also taking an English class, and then so at least in a day they would do at least 12 hours of a lot of development stuff, including the health, while the locals would do only one thing: go to school, come back and play, and that's it. That was the difference I felt, and I have this in my mind. As a child, you remember these things. I remembered it, how tough our life was, but we were different. I got out and I studied at university while we were living in a camp. My classmates who came from like rich families in that country still are struggling in a few with a few things, and I'm an executive director in my country, and I can even work as an international consultant. I've had a few contracts. I see my level different than them because we really worked hard. Now, how we advocate for education, I think worldwide and the communities and everything, it comes really back to how your culture is. If we talk about Canada, United States, it's different there. Everybody is into this education. It's in the backbone of their system, that education for everyone, at least the basics, that's, you don't go without that. Every parent has this at the back of their mind, that their children should be educated. But what about countries like African, Asian countries, really underdeveloped countries? I can tell you something, that during King Amanullah, who was, we can call him the forefather of democratic Afghanistan, the modern Afghanistan. He went to one of the provinces and a large, a region of our country, visited them, the elders, the people, and he wanted to actually advocate for it as a president or as a king of the country. And you know how, what people, after 4 days of discussions among people and everything, they came up with a solution to King Amanullah and told him that, we can pay you a certain amount of money, like at that time 400,000 from that area. We can pay you annually, that amount of money from people, as I don't know what you call that, so that you do not pull us into education. Now, this is really, really important to notice. You see, 80 or 100 years ago, somebody or some area people, they tell you that we can pay you money, but you don't send us to school, send our children to schools. Why? I mean, it has a really deep root in the culture. If we don't advocate, to change this culture, especially in the underdeveloped countries or developing countries, advocating for education, for access to education, for equal rights of boys and girls in education, wouldn't result in anything in these countries. Specifically, if you don't remove the cultural and also the religious doubts that people have, and you don't show them the good side of education, how education can earn you a good life, not only economically, but how you as a human being become someone really better than those who are only like living without education and only with the power of money, or with their traditions and with their cultures. I think that's really different. Education is not only about, just going back a little bit to the previous discussion, it's not about money. Money can like give you access to education, but education can give you access to everything in life. You can be a good human. That's as simple as that. And I think on the advocacy part, I think the best we can do, and especially in these regions, in the African, Asian, and other countries where they're underdeveloped or developing countries, it's really important to work on the culture, on the cultural side of it, on the religious side of it. Speak to the elders, speak to the religious leaders, speak to the opinion leaders, speak to the public, speak to every community and tell them how important it is, and what positive changes in their own language can education bring to their life. I think that's how we can advocate for it. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's one of the really important ways, and I think crucial ways to be successful. And crucial because if you don't advocate properly, you can even make it worse. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to say something?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'll start from what I was saying again. So basically, the reason why I wanted to jump on this panel was not because, as you can tell, I'm a white Canadian individual who doesn't have any, like people think, doesn't have any like barriers, but I am a woman, right? And being a woman, and what I've noticed throughout my life is women in particular during high school, for example, they're not pushed towards like the science STEM stream. They're pushed more towards like the arts and science stream, which for those of us who are familiar with like the Canadian system of education, arts and science is more like, is not considered the most highest paying stream to study. So they push women towards the arts and science stream. And personally, I already had that in mind. I want to become a lawyer, and for the arts and science stream, that was what I'm interested in. So I did take that. But I do notice that a lot of my friends, seeing their output of what they want to do and what they want to become in their life, it changed drastically from grade 9 to grade 12. And friends who wanted to become, the next revolutionary scientist or the next mathematician decided to take like an arts and science degree instead, because that's what they're into as a female. So having the limits being placed on women to only pursue degrees that hold them to that place a limitation on them is something that really infuriates me. Like, I see so many females having so much potential, however they hold themselves to such a low standard because the education system, particularly where I attended school and where I have had experience in, kind of places us on a lower level than the male counterparts. And that's why, in turn, women are paid, I think, 70 cents to $1. And that is where I'm passionate about. When it comes to like barriers during the pandemic, it's for everyone. If you don't have a quiet study space, if you don't have good internet connection, if you don't have all the resources necessary to be successful, set up for success, it can create hardships and problems also. Like, I personally am in a good environment. Like, I have my room, I have a desk, but I do have my brother and he creates noise, and I do have terrible Wi-Fi in my room, and it's like there's a lot of little things you can look at. So it's just a reason to look at everyone from the same perspective and to realize you don't know your own story. You don't know everyone's story. For example, I grew up with divorced parents, and recently my stepmom and dad got divorced. So that created conflict in my household. And like having that conflict and that stress being put on me as like the oldest in the family and kind of the one who has to like keep everyone together, places a burden and hinders my ability to focus on my education. So it's important that like everyone is kind of looked at from a blank slate and have the opportunity and provide you with the opportunity to create your thoughts on them based on what you what you learn from their story and what they tell you, not from their color or their orientation. Being a straight white female does place me in a level of like superiority in a sense, but I'm still underneath the white males who are straight, so it's like everyone has a barrier, everyone has an issue that can affect them and an issue that can hinder their educational abilities. So yes, that's my quick input on education and my quick input on my personal experience being a white female. Yes.
Faith, would you like to go ahead and say your story?
Yes, my story. So basically, oh, are you talking to me or another person? I'm sorry.
I know Faith has to run it, so I'd like to give her the.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You like cut out for a quick sec. I'm so sorry. I'm looking forward to Faith's story. So thank you.
No, go ahead, Faith.
Oh, sorry, no, she can continue.
No, don't worry, Faith. I literally said what I wanted to say, so I'm looking forward to hearing your story.
Yes, since you said you have to go, so we are very excited to hear the Faith story.
Okay, thank you so much. I had written about to dash out to finish an assignment. Thank you so much for all the sharing, and this forum is so loving. Oh wow. So what has affected my education during this pandemic Oh, should I think it is more on the mental aspect because um, my school already is online. It is an online forum. However, mentally sometimes writing assignments can become taunting in as much as we have so much time on our hands. Uh, the what can I say? The the aspect of not knowing if this is going to end. Like here in Zimbabwe, we were on total lockdown ever since last year in March. If I tell you the number of times I've left the house, it's been once a month. ah, ever since last year in March. April, sorry. So um just being enclosed, you know, I cannot put my finger to it, but there is something that happens mentally, whether it's conscious or subconsciously. It just becomes like, oh no, my data. Okay, all right. So it is a subconscious effect on the stress that is happening around. However, I am grateful though. Um, for my parents. I'm grateful that they are there. And sometimes when my nephew is around, he makes me laugh. So that has been a stress reliever during for me. Honestly, I really do not have words because I've been trying to write assignments. I write a paragraph, right? And then my mind gets distracted because now I'm thinking, am I even okay? Even I'm writing, but am I going to finish? You know, that uncertainty alone uh, has taken a but I have to keep that. I have to keep the faith. How ironic, you know. So then thank you so much. And then yeah, I think, and then sometimes, you know, my like my school colleagues, they have they always ask questions. Okay, so what are we going to do? And now data is very expensive here, and having to be online all the time, especially uh to keep up with what's happening and also to study, it that is another stressful factor for a lot of us students here. But I know that this too shall pass. Um, then where can we go from here? I think if there is a collective effort, especially concerning the availability of data connection, because here Wi-Fi is expensive. That is one of the most expensive things, and many people cannot afford to constantly be on the internet or connected to the internet, which is very critical and crucial during this time. And then how we can advocate for SDG 4. Um, right now, it it is unfortunate because here Zimbabwe is a developing country. The only way is to have the online awareness campaigns, maybe using like creative art videos, poetry, a lot of innovative ways that can capture um, the different audiences around. And then, but however, for those who are in marginalized areas, now it becomes a bit difficult because they do not have access to electricity, neither do they have access to um, to mobile gadgets, which sometimes, you know, you have gone 2 steps ahead, and then the pandemic takes you like 5 steps back. So that is my major concern on how can we handle this this education concerning those who are in marginalized areas, and because we are also not allowed to move around, like literally we are not allowed to move more than 7 kilometers away from where we stay, everyone in the country right now. um that is another concern. And then the open access to education, yes, it is there because of internet. However, the people who can afford it um here in my country, wow. Yeah, the percentage is quite high. But despite all of these issues, I I have hope. I have hope that one day, that one day we are going to the money issue has come back. Okay, I have hope. Oh, you people are funny. Okay, I have hope that there's a brighter tomorrow, despite all the darkness that we're going through. Right now, we just need each other. No matter where we are, we just need to encourage each other and to be each other's keeper, and just to say, hey, you know what? Hold my hand, I'll hold yours, and let's move forward despite what's going on. So, yeah, thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you,
That's great.
Faith, that was lovely.
Suleiman, do you have something to say?
Or is that an old hand from earlier?
I have no idea.
I think it's because like you raised his hand since the previous discussion, so they didn't lower the hand. Like you have to lower your hand when you raise the hand, so that's why it stays up like this. Yeah, you see.
Well, these
it
conversations have been
So,
excellent.
good.
However, it is 4:06, which means we are over time, which also means that we need to start wrapping up, which means it's unfortunately the end. We are wrapping up our conversations today. All of your stories were amazing, and these conversations have been absolutely wonderful. Faith, you are absolutely going to be added to all of our WhatsApp group chats. Thank you. I know hearing your stories, hearing your experiences, hearing your opinions are so important, because this is just going to go back into the series, and it's going to bring up topics that we really do need to talk about. So like I said, this is a year-long series. It is not stopping anytime soon. Where's my mouse? There it is. And we're going to keep going back to it. Maybe in our next events, we're going to talk about the impact of money in education, financial deficit. Maybe we'll be hosting an event. We don't know. Maybe we'll have a debate where Yabaha and Leah are just going to go at it for like 3 hours straight, and it's going to be everyone's favorite event. It's going to be great. This series can evolve. I am so excited because everyone here, you are now my guinea pigs. And I love the fact that this has taken off and your conversations have been so amazing, so productive. And all of our ideas and opinions coming
It's
together.
game, it's not game here.
So as I mentioned, this series is going to be a lot of work. At the end of it, we want to publish a document talking about the status of education worldwide. Maybe Yabaha is going to take 20 pages just talking about money. You never know. We don't know where it's going to go. And I'm really excited to bring this to you all. So if you would like to be more involved with the rest of the series, if you want to help decide topics, you want to design the document, let us know, let Leah know. And we will get it sorted, because I can't wait to share this with all of you. So ultimately, I just want to thank all of you here today who's come, and you've been so amazing. The engagement has been wonderful. You all are such wonderful human beings, and I'm so excited to work with all of you. But just because it is the end of today's event and our conversations have to be put on a hold for now, it does not mean that we get to stop talking to one another. Keep connected with us. If you're not liking us on Facebook, Instagram, or you haven't seen our website yet, please do go on, search us up, Google us. We'd love to have you engage, get to know us more, and get to see all of the awesome programming that we've had. We also have a YouTube channel where this is going to be uploaded to, where you get to watch back. We'll get to see the great debate, Yabaha versus Leah 2021, part 1 of 20. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see it. It's going to be subscribe. And yeah, so we're also fundraising at the current moment. We are trying to register as a registered non-governmental organization here in Canada, which means we need to register with our Canada Revenue Agency. So there is a link to register. It is a GoFundMe link. We can send that to you. I don't have it with me right now. Yasmin, do you have it to post in the chat right now?
No, Leah, can you do that?
If you would like to check it out, share the link with your friends, family who are financially capable. Olive, we're talking about money. We do need a little bit of money right now to get us started.
That's mean the whole lives of literacy is with Team Yabaha. Team the Great Yabaha.
Sure.
Yeah, money. Thank you.
Yeah, if you can share the word, it would be amazing. It would be great. But we also have some really cool events coming up that I do want to share with you. On February 6th, 2021. Oh my goodness, we're talking about money. We have an event. It's called Money Talks, Financial Literacy with Megumi Smithson. She is an awesome businesswoman. She's out in California in the United States. She is a podcast creator of Miss Money Move. She's amazing. We've talked to her, and she's going to share with us about getting in that mindset to save, what is budgeting, and helping cultivate financial literacy for students. The registration has been posted in the chat if you would like to get a head start on registering. It is another 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. EST event. We would hope and we would love to have you there. But if you would like to be more on the other side of the events team, if you want to be on the more independent initiatives, we have a book club. It's called Read, Educate, Allocate, Develop. We came up with that name. It's so amazing. It's another one of my babies, and I'm very proud of it. It's a relaunching, and we are on a different platform right now, so it's much more accessible for a lot more people. All you have to do is click that link in the chat, and it will send you straight into registration, and we will get a full list of everybody, and you will get to see what books we're going to be reading, and if we're gonna meet, how it's gonna work, and everything will be posted on a platform for you to use. So if you'd like to check it out, please go ahead. We would love you. And yes, please send it to your friends too. That would be amazing. Yabaha, thank you. Next up, however, in terms of the series, we are going to be talking about race and equity in terms of education. It is a very North American centered topic, I do feel, in some areas when we're gonna be talking about certain things, but in honor of Black History Month especially, we want to look at how the barrier of race has been overcome in terms of the civil rights movement, and we want to pay homage to all of those people. We're going to talk about a very different historical perspective in terms of race in education. How has it played out throughout the world? How is it going? We're going to focus on the US because the US seems to be a dominant portion of the world, right? So we want to look at how that's going on. What are the core cases? And we want to really talk about this concept of racial literacy. What is racial literacy? How do we work with racial literacy? And there's so many different things that we are going to be covering. Microaggressions in higher education and today's experience in the global south. It's going to be another fun-filled, discussion-oriented event, and we're going to see what Yabaha and Leah could go after this time. It's going to be great, and I hope to see every single one of you there. I hope when the registration link gets posted that you are the first people to sign up. I am so excited for the rest of the series, and I just want to thank every single one of you for coming, for speaking with us, and for being involved. This was amazing, and I am so thankful.
Thank you all for coming. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. If you have any questions,
Everyone, go get some sleep.
should get some sleep. I should get some sleep, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah. How did you how did you guess that you should hope so, right? Because it's 2:44 a.m., but I don't know. Maybe I will get some sleep. Who knows? Anyway, you said I hope
Yeah.
so. Yeah.